the very best photographers obsess over everything. You might have been told to calm down in every other aspect of your life, and it was probably for good reason. But creativity is so wide-ranging, photography is so wide-ranging. I just want to tell you that your biggest weakness in everyday life is probably going to be your biggest strength as a photographer.
Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Sergio and I'm a commercial photographer here in Victoria, BC, and I've fallen victim to many of these tropes that we're going to talk about in this video. And I don't want you to think that you can't be successful or you can't be a photographer because you're neurodivergent in any other way. You're a photographer. You joined this hobby, this clique, this group of people, this group of enthusiasts because you're not like everybody else. You're like us, maybe, but you're not like everybody else, so don't try to pretend to be like everybody else. Lean into it. Lean into the fact that you're a little bit different, you're a little quirky, you're a little bit obsessive over a certain thing. But that obsession, that ability to always do the same thing over and over again, might actually help you as a photographer, because if you're obsessing over things that other people aren't obsessing over, no matter what that little niche, tiny little thing is, it's gonna make you better in that field than the other people who aren't doing it. See, creativity, I think, is so wide-ranging. Photography is so wide-ranging. There's so many different aspects of photography that you can jump into, be good at, that no matter what it is that triggers your weirdness, maybe, or that triggers your what you think is different than everybody else, is what's going to help you land these jobs, or what's going to help you be a creative and different photographer. Man, I would listen to Darude Sandstorm on loop while I was studying in university, and it was, let's just say, strange for anyone who would walk by me. But it helped me into a trance, and it helped me understand that, okay, none of the other noises on the outside matter. Let's just focus on this one thing and do this for 10 hours. Obsess over those things. I think that if there's any kind of, I don't want to say the word problem, but divergency in your brain, photography has the outlet for you, and it's not going to be the same for everybody. You just got to find that outlet for yourself. You see, photography really rewards you for being different. It rewards you for obsessing over something, over a craft, over what it is that we do. Because photography is very, like, people who shoot sports are the same as people who shoot commercial work, who are people who do photojournalism, and we're all technically photographers. We all have a camera in our hands, but what attracted us to each of these different niches is different for all of us. The individual stories inside or behind the camera, behind the photographer, is what makes us choose these certain paths. There's such a wide-ranging path, and I know sometimes you guys get mad at me for being a little bit more generalist, but there's just so many different things and so many avenues that you can go about in photography, and obsessing over whichever one it is that you enjoy, and obsessing over this craft, and obsessing over practicing over and over again, obsessing over trying to book clients or emailing people or working at 3 a.m. That's what makes you a better photographer. Maybe not in that moment, maybe definitely not the next morning when you're super tired from obsessing over it the day before. But over time, when you look back, you can realize that, oh, maybe obsessing over listening to the same song over and over again, / obsessing over understanding this 35 millimeter lens until I know how it was made, let alone how it shoots, you'll end up being a better photographer. Knowledge is always power. I don't think you can max out in knowledge. The human brain is one of the most incredible things. It's like a limitless SSD. Unlimited storage. I used to always think, man, there's so much things to learn. And I was in, Sec 5, grade 11, and I'd be like, oh man, there's this math is just, there's so much. And then by the time I got to university, I'm learning calculus, and I'm like, man, how do people know all this? And then I got to university and I started doing like biochemistry or organic chemistry, and I'm like, man, how do surgeons know all of these things plus more? And I'm like, the brain is insane. It's such an incredible thing that we don't even understand yet. So if your brain, if your consciousness is telling you to obsess over this photography craft niche, tiny little part of it that you just enjoy so much, Do it until nobody else around you has done anything close to it. Do it until nobody else who has that same divergency in their brain is able to do it. Do it more than everybody. And when you're the most prolific in a certain field, you'll stand out. You'll be the only person who does that thing. As photographers, that obsession is needed to compete with everyone around us. If you're joining or just getting into photography, you're like, man, it's so damn competitive. How am I going to do this for the next 20 years of my life? How am I supposed to book clients versus all of these other people that have a dream and a credit card, and I'm just, some other person with a camera? How am I supposed to compete with all of these people? And in the first couple years, yeah, it's going to be really tough because everybody who has a couple grand is basically at that same leveled playing field. If you have a bit of money to spend and you can have good equipment and, a couple YouTube videos, you can probably be pretty much as good as anyone around you in your neighborhood, more or less. But to stand out and to be that trusted photography source, someone that you can get booked over and over again, is the photographer that obsessed over that one craft and that kept doing it over and over and over again. I don't mean that you have to only do a single niche. You can do multiple niches, but you might be the obsessed photographer that knows exactly how to do really cool, unique shots at ISO 12,000 or something. I don't know, whatever it is. But lean into it. Be the person who's a little bit quirky, a little bit different. Make your models laugh so much uncontrollably on set that every single shoot you take is just the most genuine, amazing laugh, and it feels like it's out of this world. Whatever, just be that person. Be that photographer that the community and society doesn't let you be as a human being, sort of. It's not that they don't let you, but whatever it is that people might mock you for, or whatever it is that, let's say, an older brother would mock you for, because people in the street usually don't mock you for normal things if they don't know who you are, but let's say your best friend, whatever they mock you for, do that thing as a photographer, or think of it as a photography mindset, and how can you exploit that thing that makes you weird? How do you exploit the thing that makes you different than everybody else? Creativity is not about taking a subject that you see online and then adding your twist to it. That's sure one form of it, but true creativity just comes from taking in all these sources and being so comfortable and understanding of yourself that when you're given a brief, or when you're given hey, can we do a picture on this topic, you're able to come out with boom, 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 a bunch of creative options, a bunch of creative solutions to these problems that other brands or other people are having. And by leaning into what it is that makes you weird, leaning into understanding what it is that you actually like, what you don't like, that's how you become a great photographer with great taste. A lot of people, I find, especially as photographers, let's just move around here. A lot of photographers, I find, are technically very skilled. You look at a shot, or you look at what it is that your brief is, and you're going to be able to technically make a very solid image. One thing that can't really be taught in 3 months' time, or as soon as you pick up a camera, or even in 5 years, I think one of the things that takes a lot of time to build, and it took me a lot of time to build, it took me until, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. Even at that, I'm still working on it. But I think one of the things that is the hardest thing to work on, and the hardest things to really grasp as a photographer, is your taste. Your personal taste as a photographer is what's going to also help other people book with you. If what you think is acceptable and is put out there, and other people don't think it's acceptable, or they don't think that, let's say that the lighting on a certain shot is perfect, and you're like, man, the gradient on the background and the this and the that is just, it fits all of my neurodivergency. But if you just look at an image and it looks like crap as a layman, then it's a bad image. I've said this before, but if I give my shot to my dad and he doesn't like the photo because he doesn't know what photography is and he just didn't react to the image, then it's not a good shot. You have to be able to have a body of work that stands out to people who are other photographers, sure, maybe, but more importantly, are people who are booking photographers, art buyers, art directors, and businesses, things like that, or the layman and the everybody around us, the mass appeal of just enjoying things that are like enjoying photographs. If you are focusing too much on impressing other photographers, it's not really going to do you any service as a working photographer, at least. If you're just a hobbyist and you want to take pretty photos, then yeah, sure, you can work on all the technical things about photography and having the right ratio and the right lighting and all that. But as a working photographer or someone that pleases clients on a day-to-day basis, it's much more important to please them. It's much more important for them to be happy than it is for you to be happy. And I think that the more you obsess, the more you are, driven and crazy about this certain little thing, the more you can understand that what it is that you like and what it is that other people might like, and you understand the world of photography and the power and the point of your images, the story that goes behind them, the more than just the technical. I think when you focus on yourself and you think about what makes you tick, what makes you, who are you as a person, and if you can photograph that and if you can have that show off in your photography, even if it's not the most technically perfect shot of all time, that's going to be a better photo and it's going to impact a lot more people than something that is only focused on the technical side. Of course, sure, you would want to have the best of both worlds, but you're much more profitable, you're much more lucrative, you are a better photographer if you can focus on the story inside you, the creativity that lies inside you, and not just, whatever medium format camera you have in your hands. You're competing with everybody that has this ability to just be a photographer because they had a couple bucks to spend. But the obsession over nuance, the obsession over the tiny little details that form this taste, that form this ability to take pictures in a stressful situation or in a less than ideal situation, obsess over those little things, obsess over those nuances within your niche, within whatever thing that you like to shoot. And that's how you're going to book these bigger and larger clients that actually accept you and like the thing that you're able to bring forward. I think as a obsessive photographer, as a neurodivergent photographer, your strength is the ability to be creative and to be different than other people around you. If you're just exposing an image properly with no taste, no style, no personality, you're replaceable. You're just another photographer that could have gotten booked for that shoot. I think of wedding clients. If you're a wedding photographer, and I don't want to think that, if you charge more money, you're a better photographer, but let's say a photography client or a wedding client has 10 grand to spend, they're not going to go look at the $2,000 photographer and think that they're saving money. They have friends or they know people who have booked a $2,000 photographer. They didn't like the results. And even though that doesn't mean that's what you're going to offer, they're going to go and spend the money that they wanted to spend because of the nuances and the understanding of the craft and the business around photography that this $10,000 photographer has achieved. And that's who's going to get booked for that job. And same thing in the commercial world. There's maybe a lot of people that are competing at $200, $300, $500. And the people who are charging $2, $3, $4, $5 grand might have a lot less competition because they've stuck with it for long enough and understand the nuances, understand the technical difference between a $200 shot and a $2,000 shot, or the power that a certain photo can bring or can drive an advertising campaign by being a little bit better, being that 1%, 1%, 1%, 1% better. If you're focusing on trying to get that 1% better, you're not going to feel it and you're not going to see those results right away. I promise you. You're going to want to, and you're going to be like, but I know all of these things. And then 3 years later, you're like, it's still not paying off. What's going on? The thing is, you're dealing with human nature. You're dealing with human beings, and there is no this is the exact answer and it's going to land everybody. But I know that looking back at me obsessing over these last 10, 12 years as a photographer, those tiny little nuances that I never know when, I don't know when it is that I learned a certain thing, and then I'm like, oh, well, now I'm officially, it's never like a, you turn the page and now everything's new. Happy New Year, by the way. All the videos you guys saw were pre-recorded the start of last month, so I haven't actually recorded a new video in about a month. New thoughts in my head. New year, new me. So welcome thanks for joining. Let's do another year together. It's been a fun year. We've done 2 videos a week since January or February, and I haven't missed a single upload, so I'm pretty stoked on that. And we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep doing this twice a week. I was only gonna do it once a week. At least, 2 years ago, I was uploading once a week. In February last year, I started doing twice a week. And now I have this big 3-month contract that I teased about in a previous video that's coming up. But I still think I can still do this twice a week videos. So if you're still watching them, I'll keep doing them. Where was I? Don't think you're gonna fail if you make a mistake. If you don't make mistakes, that's how you're gonna fail. That's simple, guys. Honestly, if you are making mistakes, you're on the right path. If you can realize mistakes, if you can look back at your work or look back at things you've done or haven't done and realize that that was a mistake, that's progress. That's understanding that it's a thing that you don't want to do anymore. And eventually, if you put the work in, you might not end up doing it anymore. And that's going to make you a better photographer. That's what's going to actually help you be this, always taking one step forward type of photographer. It's hard to look at and to realize the progress that you're actually doing because there is no rule book. There is no step by step, after project manager, then you're district manager, and then you're this. We're photographers. First 10, 20, 30 years, in photography, there is no real hierarchy. I could still get outbid and book, I could still lose a job to someone who just started photography. That doesn't make me automatically land every single job in the city because I have more experience than XYZ. Of course not. You have to be able to constantly be that, the person that people think of and the photographer that people know as, oh yeah, they're the person who does that kind of thing. And whatever that kind of thing is, as long as it's creative and yours and the only person who does it, you're going to get sought out for it. So just lean into who you are. Lean into the weirdness that made you you. And that'll be the best decision you can do as a photographer because that's what's going to make you stand out. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you got any value from this one or even maybe a little entertainment, leave a comment down below. Let me know what it is that you enjoyed. Let me know maybe what you'd like to see more of on this channel. I'm always kind of looking at different sources of inspiration to try to come out with something that you guys actually want to watch. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in a couple days. Later.